So the key about an elevator pitch is it is really the critical first step on a sales strategy. When you have a sales strategy, your pitch is meant to be the foot in the door to get more relationship time, to build more connections, and to start a journey with a customer, with an employee, with someone with whom you're trying to cast vision to make a connection. Now, you may have heard that the attention span of any human being tends to be around 12 seconds, the time of a goldfish, right? Well, the good news is you can do a great elevator pitch within that time. And my goal today is to give you some techniques for that, to talk a little bit about how you can cast vision, promote yourself, promote your business, promote your product, and in casting vision, really make a lasting impact. So we're going to get right into it here. The idea of an elevator pitch, it's a slang term, and it really actually references an elevator, that the time it takes to get into an elevator, press the button, get up to, let's say, the second or third floor, is about the amount of time you have to make a presentation to somebody who you're meeting for the first time. You don't really have a lot of time to make connections. You don't have a lot of time to build relationships. It's a quick hit, right? And it's that first key introduction to a person, a product, or something like that. So usually 20 to 60 seconds should be enough. And in order to do that, in order to make that presentation fit in that time frame, you really have to know your stuff and know how to condense the material into precise wording, what you want to say exactly. So getting into that, it's different in an actual elevator. Let me warn you with that. It's different in an actual elevator, right? People get claustrophobic. It gets scary, right? The elevator won't go anymore. It's not like that. That's not what we're talking about here. The elevator pitch you're going to do is going to be in front of a group of people who know what you're doing, right? So the good news is the guesswork is taken out of who your audience is. That's not always the case, but it's different in an actual elevator than what you're going to be doing later today. So what is an elevator pitch? Again, it's all about timing. And the idea is, in the back of your mind, I'm hoping you can hear my snapping, you should be hearing that time is running out to convey the most important things. And it explains why you're worth investing in. That's the idea of an elevator pitch. Okay. Hopefully, we've got some head nods that this is making sense to you so far. Good. The key about an elevator pitch, once again, it explains why you, specifically you as a person, are worth investing in. It is as much about the soft skills that you are developing as a business person, of confidence and integrity and rapport and charm, as it is about the actual material you're presenting. So you may have heard the term fake it till you make it. Sometimes an elevator pitch starts with learning how to fake it a little bit in terms of confidence level, or knowing your product perfectly well. But that comes with time. So the more you practice an elevator pitch, the better at it you're going to get. So what do you do? How do you get started with this? The most important part to introducing an elevator pitch is to identify the need. Why does your product exist? So let's talk about an elevator pitch for a product and selling it. If anyone on the call is a fan of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the original, the old school version, not this newfangled thing with Johnny Depp, but the original one with Gene Wilder, one of my favorite parts of the whole movie is when we get to the good part. The good part being the lead up. The lead up in the storyline is that Slugworth, the villain, wants to get his hands on an everlasting gobstopper. We don't know why. We just know that he's bribed every child who's going into the chocolate factory to get his hands on this product. It's too valuable. You got to leave with one, right, Charlie? Well, Willy Wonka explains why it's so valuable. Why does the product exist? In just a quick sentence or two, he says, the everlasting gobstopper exists for children with very little pocket money. Did you catch that? For children with very little pocket money. What's the problem that the product exists to solve? People don't have money to keep buying candy in a Depression era time frame. So the problem that exists is limited money to keep buying candy. And the product solves that by somehow being more affordable. Well, how is it more affordable? Well, we get that from Gene Wilder. He answers in the sweetest way. You can suck them, and they'll never get any smaller. It'll revolutionize the industry. Imagine you don't have to keep buying candy. You can buy just one. It places the everlasting gobstopper as part of a unique selling proposition that the gobstopper alone accomplishes the solution for the problem that he's already presented. It's simple, it's short, and all of a sudden, in 2 sentences, we have the pitch for the product that now sells itself. All you have to do is look at it, and now you know the everlasting gobstopper can change the world. That might seem a little grandiose. Not every product is going to change the world. But what's fascinating is it hits on this one problem, and in just 2 sentences, it gives this quick answer for how we can change things, right? Really interesting. When you give an elevator pitch, there's 4 key concerns about how you present yourself, okay? Concern number 1, you don't want to speak in a language that people don't understand. Engineers in particular struggle with this. If you're an engineering student, if you really like the practical and the data, it's hard to be a salesperson as well. And the reason for that is because you get so into the technical language as part of your everyday approach that the technical seeps into your sales pitch. I don't want to know the heating temperature of asphalt. I want to know why this road needs to go from A to B. You get it? I hope you do. You don't want to speak with jargon. I don't need to know how the everlasting gobstopper is made. I just need to know how it solves my problem. Okay, don't speak with jargon. Item number 2, for how you present yourself, you want to balance the promises you make in your pitch with the reality of the thing you're selling. I'm responsible every single year to generate about $500,000 in revenue for the Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce, just for us to operate. And we do great work here at the Chamber, but it is super important that because I have relationships with the people who are sponsoring our events or engaging with us in membership, that I don't overpromise and underdeliver. If I say that your Chamber membership is the absolute key to your business's success, and you find that there are other keys, I've lost the faith that you would place in me as a salesperson, and it's a question of my integrity. The biggest place that has this stigma, this reputation for this, is a used car dealership. Now, a number of you are probably in the position where you're getting close to buying a car soon, or thinking about buying a car, or can't wait till you can drive. And when you go to a car dealership, you really want to balance the promises the salesperson is making with the reality of the product. Having bought a number of used cars, in fact, my wife and I, we still buy used cars all the time. The elevator pitch of how the product will work, how the car will work for me, is so important, because if I find that I'm lied to when my first sale happens, the salesman will lose me as a future customer. So the elevator pitch I told you at the start is the beginning of a sales strategy. If you don't have integrity to start, you will lose your potential customer long term. So you must balance the promises of what the product offers with the reality of what it offers. Next, you cannot be afraid. You cannot be sheepish. Don't be the sheepish sheep who feels sheepish. No, you want to make sure that you exude confidence. Failure to exude confidence when presenting often can be interpreted in a lack of confidence about your product. If you're not sure that your product can deliver on what you're promising, typically the consumer can see that, the customer can see that, and they might back off from any further interest. And the opposite of that is true too. If you act like King Know-It-All or Queen Know-It-All when you go into a pitch, a holier-than-thou attitude, and I am the best and you're beneath me, that arrogance can also project very negatively into your relationship for sales. So don't use the jargon that no one will understand. Don't act sheepish. Have confidence, but don't be overconfident. Balance your promises with reality. And here's the trick. An elevator pitch is a setup for something else. Now, there are a number of people on this call who might be concerned with me calling an engagement or a proposal an elevator pitch. I'm not saying that. especially because it comes with a lot of other context if it's done the right way. But just like a marriage proposal is a promise for the future, so too is an elevator pitch. When I proposed to my wife, I didn't plan out that we would be, I didn't articulate all the things that would consume our marriage. I couldn't make that promise because I can't see into the future. But I did tell her that it is, our marriage will be based on a certain set of core beliefs. Those core beliefs I articulated when I got engaged, right? And thankfully, she bought in, and I still have the ring to prove it, right? It's a setup. It's also a trap. If you're a cynic, perhaps you'll know that a good elevator pitch is meant to bring a customer into a point where they're listening to nobody else. The competition is pushed aside. Now I've got a captive audience to sell better, to sell more. Okay, it's a trap. If you didn't recognize that movie, that was the original Star Wars. I'm a little old school, don't mind me, but definitely see Star Wars: A New Hope. It's a trap. Now, here's some rules for your pitch. Number one, you want to be prepared. You want to absolutely follow the Boy Scout motto and be prepared. I'm going to talk about why in a second and how to do that, but being prepared is so critically important. Second, you need to be adaptable and you need to be able to read the room. There's nothing worse than starting a pitch and realizing you're pitching to someone who already hates your product. You want to make sure you're not doing that. Third, you want to keep it simple, really simple. Articulate clearly the problem and how you fix it. You want to be memorable. Folks, you're going to be making presentations that are part of a series of presentations. Leave an impression. Leave an impression with that confidence, with the content of your presentation. Give them something to think about, whether it's an image or a video or something like that. When you can give images beyond words, tends to be really helpful. Not doing great with that on this particular slide. Forgive me for that. Next, be convincing but humble. I've kind of covered that already. And then be prepared to follow up. I told you again, the elevator pitch is the start of a sales strategy. You must be prepared that your elevator pitch is not your closing. You're going to learn more about that as you learn more about salesmanship. But if you expect your elevator pitch to seal the deal on every sale, you will be woefully mistaken and underpaid. You want to be prepared to follow up with the people. And so part of your elevator pitch must be getting information on how to continue the conversation and building some relationship. Okay, how do you be prepared? Well, think about a tool belt with 100 different tools in it. To be prepared means you need to know what your resources are before you walk into the pitch. Again, it means practice, but it also means knowing what other tools to bring out or strategies to bring out as your conversation is going on. You can't do that without early prep. So before you walk into an elevator, you need to be able to think about, if you meet somebody new, how would you talk to them about what you do? You also need to think about, how would you meet somebody, identifying your audiences, right? If I met a customer or a potential customer, how would I talk to them? If I met a potential employee that I wanted to hire, how would I talk to them? Okay, be prepared with the tool belt. Next, read the room. Think about this for a second. I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. If my 3-year-old came into mom and dad's bedroom and said to me, "Mom, can I sleep with you? I'm scared." If I turned to my 3-year-old son and said, "No, you definitely can't. I can't risk the monster following you into my room and killing me." Folks, that's not how you talk to a 3-year-old. Hoping everyone on the call knows that already. It's a ludicrous proposition, right? You have to read the room with children, right? But you should also consider how to read the room when you give a pitch, right? If someone asks something significant, know the approach you want to take to answer them. Part of that is in the preparedness, and part of that is reading the room to see who your audience is, right? If you're talking to folks who could be potential customers, you want to make sure that you know how to answer and anticipate even some of their questions. Okay, keep it simple. Keep it simple. I love Dwight Schrute and The Office and that TV show. If you haven't seen it, I love his quote here. He says, keep it simple, stupid. It's great advice. It hurts my feelings every time. The idea is his boss is actually calling him stupid, but it's a reminder, focus, keep it simple. Keep it simple. And I'm not calling anyone stupid, I promise. So here's the technique. Here are the techniques to make you a master of the elevator pitch. These are the key. If you take notes on anything in our presentation, this would be it right here. These are the techniques to master the elevator pitch. Number one, consider asking, don't you agree? Second, using your unique selling proposition like Willy Wonka, explain how you are fixing something that people don't realize is wrong. Fixing a dichotomy, okay? Start with a story and segue into a pitch. That's another technique you can use. You can also use a demonstration principle, showing how a product works. Another piece is to give perspective based on your audience. And the last one is to have an emotional appeal. Let's go through these a little bit. Here's an idea for the technique. Don't you agree? We start with an undeniable truth. Truth one, truth A, drones are a piece of technology that enables us to capture so much more. In fact, and you can build on this, right? Truth A, drones are an unbelievable piece of technology with incredible ramifications in a number of different markets. Right now, drones are being used to capture aerial photography of real estate, and realtors are using it to sell houses. But there's a problem. Think about this. Now, we use the second part of this technique. We make a bold claim that contrasts the undeniable truth. We highlight the problem, and we get some people to think, really think about the fact that there's a problem, despite this great potential. And that's where we go with truth B. It's easy to crash a drone, especially if you're a beginner. Now, I don't know if any of you have used a drone before, but if truth A and truth B really come together, it presents a problem without me actually articulating the problem, that I'm suggesting that I'm going to sell you something because you're not good at using a drone. I'm not going to tell you you're bad at it. I'm going to let you figure it out for yourself by saying truth A and truth B. Okay, so what's my solution? What's my elevator pitch? I'm here to tell you about customized training for new pilots so that drones can be used the right way. It's customized training. Anyone can use it. It's specific to you, and it's going to make sure that truth B is not true for you. Quick elevator pitch. Don't you agree? Would you agree that drones have great potential? Would you agree that it's easy to crash a drone? Well, let me tell you about my product. That's a quick elevator pitch. Okay, here's another one. Think about fixing a dichotomy. We want to bring people very similarly to the last one. You know how the traffic on routes 11 and 15 are unbelievably busy, and how locals struggle to turn left? Well, what the Chamber of Commerce does is we get people together to advocate for local businesses so that we can get a throughway to make the traffic less of a problem. In fact, we helped with local legislation to make sure that we'll have a throughway that deals specifically with truck traffic and not with the everyday consumers turning left on the Selinsgrove Strip. It's a quick one. We're fixing a problem. Traffic is too heavy. Here's what we're doing. We're getting people together to fix this problem. In fact, here's how we've done it. Fixing a dichotomy. Another one. Here's another piece to that. We use a truth claim, another bold contrast, and answer the why question, right? So tech has taken over our lives. In fact, that's easy to sell all of you on because we're doing what would normally be an in-person presentation over a Zoom video call. Tech has taken over our lives. Zoom, web forms, emails, calls, they're the enemy. They're hard to understand. There's so many changing technologies. And you know why they're the enemy? They're the enemy because they make us treat human beings like faceless leads, right? When we just send emails and do forms and websites only, we don't get the humanity together. Let me tell you about a program called Drift. Let me tell you about a program called Microsoft Teams or Zoom, right? You see it? Truth claim, bold contrast, how to fix it. Okay. Another way to think about it is you are the doctor. You are offering a prescription to fight the illness that exists, an illness that you can see and you know the solution for. If you're not sure how to be a salesperson, you might know how to be a doctor. How does your product bring aid? How does it bring comfort? How does it bring well-being? Think about those things. You're the doctor. Here's another way. Start with a story, segue into a pitch. This is a picture of Gilson Snowboards and the staff of Gilson Snowboards. They have an incredible business model, and they were the Chamber's Business of the Year a couple of years ago. They have this problem. Their problem is that they don't have access to broadband high-speed internet. At least they didn't when this story got told. So what they did was they took a picture of themselves and they had a story with the local newspaper. And they pitched that because they can't do these things, they might have to move their business to another community. When the community got word that we could lose a local business, this image went absolutely viral throughout the community. And a ton of community partners rallied to make sure that these folks got local internet. And they did. And Service Electric Cablevision, to their credit, did a phenomenal job investing in the New Berlin community and making sure that these folks could get high-speed internet for their business. That's an incredible story, but it's a story that starts with a story and turns into a pitch. Let me tell you about the importance of high-speed internet to local businesses and what we're doing to make sure businesses get the internet. Did you catch the pitch? That was it. This story turns into how you can help me get businesses like these folks to stay in the greater Susquehanna Valley. Okay. This gentleman here in this picture, his name is Joe Aids. Joe Aids is famous for sitting in Union Square in New York City with a $5 carrot peeler. Now you might think, carrot peeler, Chris? Really? Here's what he did. He took this carrot peeler and he showed how you can slice and dice and peel and prepare carrots with this peeler in about 30 seconds to a minute's time. And he did this all day, every day, sitting in Union Square. He died in 2009. When he died, he was worth millions because his simple pitch was showing you how his product worked. The demo principle is simple. If you have something tangible to show someone and show them that it works, show it. Now, there's a caveat to that, which means there's a disclaimer I will give you. The worst thing that can happen in an introductory pitch when using the demo principle is for your product to fail. Make sure your product doesn't fail or isn't at risk to fail. Otherwise, maybe don't do the demo principle. Okay, here's a fascinating one. This is Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks. When Mark Cuban took over the Dallas Mavericks, he had a huge problem. He was the owner of the worst franchise in NBA history. The worst franchise. They had the worst record, and nobody wanted to go to a Dallas Mavericks game. So he did something very simple. He said, in his advertising, he said, you know, when you go to the movies, you sit in front of a screen and you don't get to engage with your family. And for the cost of a family of 4 to go to McDonald's, you could have a better experience as a family going to see the Dallas Mavericks. Regardless of how good the team is, we can give you a better family experience. And he pitched this to moms and dads who wanted desperately more time with their families to engage instead of looking at a computer screen or a video screen. And you know what? 2 years after he started this principle, the Dallas Mavericks started to make some money. And after they started to make some money, they started to be able to invest in players who made the experience better and better and better. And they became world champions. Lastly, I told you the importance of an emotional appeal. I don't mean to make light of serious social issues, but part of the importance of an emotional appeal is connecting with it, right? We look at this picture and it's a little blurry, but there is no question that this man is appealing to your emotion. He's hungry, he's broke, he's asking you please to help. Sometimes we think about pitches as entirely professional and we think about only product, when in reality, this man is begging, pleading for help. Sometimes we do that with a real pitch. We pitch the things that are critical for us because it's not just about the product, you see, it's also about you. A job interview is a pitch about who you are and your character, your integrity, your work ethic, the way that you answer your parents when they talk to you about your responsibility. When it's time for you to ask them for something, you're making a pitch. In fact, pretty much everything we do when we ask somebody to give us something is a pitch. So if you don't realize it, that's the key. When you're making a pitch, be prepared and consider how you can appeal emotionally to drive home your point. Okay. There's another one. And this is a fantastic way to do any product. This movie here, I love movies. I don't know if you can tell or not. This movie is The Princess Bride. The technique that the grandfather in The Princess Bride uses is to educate and inspire. His grandson is sick, and the grandfather comes over to tell a story. When he starts reading the book, the first question the grandson says is this a kissing book? Because I want nothing to do with it. And as he uses the book to educate and inspire and tell exciting story, do you know what happens? The grandson walks away and says, hey, maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow. What a closing job on the sale. But he started by educating and inspiring. Okay. Be memorable. The ads on the screen, I'm hoping, are still relevant to your generation. I don't know that they necessarily are. I'm sorry. But there have been some incredible ads that are memorable. Flo from Progressive, she might be annoying, but you always know who Flo is, right? How about Mayhem, the guy from Allstate, right? Mayhem, very memorable. He causes problems everywhere he goes. Get insurance, otherwise there'll be mayhem. Top right of the screen, you'll see Mac versus PC. Mac wanted to show that their computers were cool and not stuffy and broken like PCs. It's an ad campaign that changed the generation of laptop purchasers. How about the U.S. Olympics, the Winter Olympics? The last time they came around, this was an ad about the importance of moms involving themselves with their families, right? And how moms train Olympic athletes. Do you know, the emotional appeal was so high, it actually backfired in that I can't possibly tell you what the ad was for. But I bet you know, moms who saw the ad, they could tell you because they appreciated the values that were preached in that 30-second ad. Finally, the Energizer Bunny. Be memorable. The Energizer Bunny is everywhere. We know what he stands for. Okay. Be convincing. How are you convincing when you give a pitch? Well, quite honestly, sometimes that means getting a little bit louder, being a little bit adamant, but not so loud that you're Michael Scott and crazy. Here we go. This guy here is Mike Rowe. I hope you know Mike Rowe from the TV show Dirty Jobs. He's also got an incredible podcast and a great educational foundation and workforce called Mike Rowe Works. He got his start having to give a pitch. He had to pitch for a minute straight the values and benefits of a Dixon Ticonderoga #2 pencil. If you ever get a chance, check out his YouTube clip. Finally, be prepared to follow up. You want to make sure that after you give a good pitch, you've got a phone number or an email, preferably phone number. Emailing is a little bit less engaged, but you want to make sure you have a mechanism to follow up with the person you're selling to. Okay? Super important. So here's it. May I? My question is, can I give you a quick pitch? Do you know how you don't know how roads being built get their start? Do you know how you don't know how the thruway got its birth? You know how you don't know how a coal power plant converts to a gas power plant and brings about all these new jobs? Let me tell you what, chambers of commerce do every day what most people think just happens. If you're ever not sure how something gets its start in the business world, you can bet that it started with a meeting of important people to talk about important world-changing challenges before them, whether it's transportation or power and electricity or the business climate. It started with a meeting. Chances are pretty good the Chamber of Commerce was involved in setting up the meeting, not so that we can take the glory, but so that the right people could be in the right room to talk about what's next. That's my pitch. The Greater Susquehanna Valley Chamber of Commerce does what most people think happens every day, and it's a privilege to be a part of it. So guys, don't forget, think about the techniques. Don't you agree? Fix a dichotomy. Start with a story. Any way you do it, demo principle. You have the power right now with all of your worldly experience to make a great pitch. So thank you so much. At this point, I believe it's your turn. And I want to encourage you. I think you've got some great resources for you. You've got some awesome other speakers today, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Thanks so much.